I think, if we look at the price right now of petroleum, in March, it rose 21%. 21%, the highest increase since 1967. Fuel oil prices are up by 31%. Now, we're not even beginning to talk about all the other products, petrochemical feedstocks, aviation fuel, grid balancing, fertilizers. If you don't get those to market, which is a huge problem right now, you're looking at massive industrial production shutdowns. That's already happened with plastics all across Asia. It's happening now to a lesser extent, but increasingly with microcircuitry. In other words, we're not just talking about driving Iran into the sea or destroying Iran. You're talking about a global energy system that is being brought to a standstill, not by something Iran has done, but by what we have done. How many times do we have to remind everyone that we are the ones, along with the Israelis, that attacked Iran? We were not attacked. When we attacked Iran, we caused Lloyd of London's to immediately cease underwriting the movement of any ships with insurance. So Lloyd's of London, they stepped in, they shut down the strait. After that, it was a foregone conclusion that as long as there was fighting, the strait would not open. So now we have a ceasefire, supposedly. The ceasefire is supposed to be the prelude, we all hope, for some sort of reasonable negotiated settlement. That seems unlikely because we continue to put forth Israeli demands to the Iranians. And the Iranians have no intention ever of submitting to those demands from Israel. They know what this war is all about. People will talk about China and other things. That's nonsense. This war is about the Israeli state and the supremacy of the Jewish state throughout the entire region. And their agents inside the United States are holding us hostage to that outcome. We can't produce that outcome right now. And the longer it takes, the weaker we look. The longer it takes, the more likely others are to enter the conflict. And thus far, we have always waved them off and said, oh, no one will ever do that. Oh, they'll never do that. What? The Turks? They'll never do anything. The Egyptians? They'll never do anything. The Chinese? They'll never do anything. How many times do you have to do this? Or we're sitting around in January of 2022 with a round table of people in Washington, D.C. and said, oh, the Russians would never intervene in Ukraine. Why? That would be catastrophic for their economy. They could not sustain it. They couldn't withstand the pressure. We are stupid. We have to understand that when you give people no alternative, no other way to extricate themselves from the crisis, they will fight. And so now we've learned that the Iranians are not going to submit. There will be no capitulation. There will be no surrender ceremony on the battleship Missouri for President Trump to show up and attend. It's not going to happen. And the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Cooper, I don't know anything about the man. I don't think he's Alfred Thayer Mahan. He's certainly not Chester Nimitz. It doesn't make any difference. He can't do what President Trump is ordering him to do. Not unless he's prepared to lose a lot of ships and do a lot more damage inside the Persian Gulf. Remember, the remaining oil infrastructure and salination plants inside the Gulf are still at risk. And the Iranians have made it clear, if you attack us, you destroy these things, we will wipe all of it out on the western coast. Well, that puts us out of business in the Persian Gulf for a decade, Dan. We're looking at a decade of stoppage. The whole world will suffer terribly from this. So it's just not going to work. For Iran, it's a matter of national sovereignty. This means if they're going to comply with these demands, that they're effectively turning over the enriched uranium to us, and they're allowing us to conduct intrusive inspections. Now, the JCPOA that was passed under, or not passed, that's the wrong word, that was agreed during the Obama administration addressed all of these things. President Trump, under great pressure from his Zionist billionaire donors, threw it out. Now he's asking not only for intrusive inspections, he wants no uranium enrichment at all. I'd say it's a non-starter, and there's no point in meeting to discuss anything. If you're an Iranian right now, however bad the damage is to your country, you know that you hold the strategic initiative. You don't have to put 50,000 troops around the straits. You control the straits with precision strike, precision fires. You don't have to have large numbers of people there. A few is always helpful, and that's what they've got. A few who are very good at doing what they do with the small boats and the submersibles and so forth. But they don't have to do anything else. They also know that if we continue down this road and renew the attacks on Iran, that the world is going to be deeply alienated and turn violently against us. We could actually see a coalition of nations that come together, and I don't want to speculate on who could be in the coalition, but I think some people in America would be surprised, who simply come together and say enough. And if you don't stop, we will treat you and your forces anywhere we find them as the enemy. That's how serious the crisis is around the world. Now, we haven't talked a lot about what's happening in Japan, or the problems in Korea. And I hope we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in Europe, because what the European heads of state are saying, look, we can't do this. They don't say publicly, stop attacking Iran, but privately say it's got to stop. It can't go on. Pretty soon they'll say it publicly, because we can't live with this outcome. So Iran's in the driver's seat. What we expect to get from another round of talks is beyond me, other than window dressing, the image or illusion of some sort of legitimate approach to peace. There is none right now.
And I wonder, Doug, if this is evidence that maybe we need more time to get more ammunition into theater, et cetera. Because I was thinking, look, there's no real reason to think that Iran's going to have magically changed its position, especially in light of we're still in the ceasefire situation. By the way, the Iranian side is doing the same as we are. They are definitely restocking and resting their forces and getting ready for the next phase. They are doing everything they can with that. So they're just getting recovered, I guess, militarily from the first round of this so far. So are we. But now the advance has offered nothing new here. So one wonders, why would you be talking to go back on Thursday when you literally just said on Saturday night, this is our final last offer, but then he's not offering anything different at all, and something that he knows for sure the Iranians, it's a non-starter. So why do you think that they're offering a Thursday meeting?
No one has told us the truth from the beginning of this operation until now. We've never had a truthful picture of what we have and have not accomplished. We've had to listen to the little Air Force 4-star stand there like an accountant reading from a spreadsheet and tell us, we have attacked 7,000 targets, we have hit every target, and we have been successful, and we have accomplished all of the assigned tasks. That's like saying, well, the patient over here who's terminal, we cut off his left leg, we patched him up near his heart, and we're very successful. Obviously, in the meantime, the patient is dead, but nobody bothers to mention that. You didn't tell us to keep the patient alive, you told us to operate, so we operated. This is stupid. This is counterproductive. This is insane. It will come to nothing. But President Trump doesn't want to suffer the humiliation of admitting that we've done all that we can do. Military force is now no longer the right answer, and we're going to take a different approach. And we are going, in the meantime, to disengage our forces from the current conflict. We are going to look to other mediaries, others who are willing to help us to negotiate a more favorable outcome than we can get on our own. That's humiliating for him. He can't do it. A great man can do it. He can't do it. This is the product of Roy Cohn. Everybody should look up Roy Cohn, who was his mentor. C-O-H-N, first name Roy. That man was one of the most evil, despicable human beings on the face of the earth. And he imparted his wisdom to President Trump, and President Trump has lived by it. And one of his rules was never admit anything. Never admit defeat. Say you were successful when you weren't. Say that you're in charge when you're not. In other words, never, ever behave truthfully towards anyone. Because if you admit defeat in any way, shape, or form, if you admit that you weren't able to accomplish something, the rest of the world will destroy you. That's his philosophy. His philosophy is straight from Roy Cohn, and that's why we're not going to see any change.